real estate
They
investors
don't talk about
they
this
don't really
stuff.
talk about it, and we just want to be like fully transparent and tell you guys this is how it is, this is what could happen, this is what will happen.
It's not no fixer up or HGTV.
No, not at all.
Welcome back to the Investor Unite podcast, where we talk all things real estate, business, and entrepreneurship.
If you are looking to start your real estate investing, then join us with Investors Unite. Oh, I said it wrong. I used start instead
I
of
know.
unite.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It still worked out.
it felt good.
Yeah.
Felt good.
It felt good.
So, we got quite the story for you guys today.
Yeah.
We're back to another story time. We've had a couple in the past.
I like these story times.
It's entertaining, and I feel like it's a huge learning lesson
Yeah.
that the audience can definitely, appreciate as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they hopefully don't make the same mistakes that we have.
Right.
Now, our past couple story times, they're typically what went wrong.
Yeah.
This is no different. This is a situation where once again, it didn't work out for the best, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one was with Luigi. Remember that one?
Shout out Luigi.
The Duncannon deal.
Yeah.
Yep, that one. We explained it already.
Mhm.
And then the other one was the main story time we did was the
Losing 100,000.
the
It
refi.
really was more than 100,000
It was
because we were supposed to get 160 and then we only got 16. So,
144.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so let's do it again.
Yeah. Make sure y'all get your popcorn
Tune in.
ready.
This is about to be a fun one. So we're looking to educate you, but also this is going to be entertaining just naturally because of the sequence of events that took place.
Yeah, and trust us, we were like annoyed. Like we can handle our emotions, we can control them and everything, but we were annoyed throughout this
Oh my
process.
gosh, yeah.
But now it's like we can look back and kind of laugh on it and stuff.
I guess this just happened like
It happened, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago?
last week. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
a shame.
to start it off, we will be using aliases in this episode just because of confidentiality reasons.
Yeah.
And one of the people we're going to be referring to was a prior attorney. So we definitely don't want to irritate her at all.
No.
Or him. Him, her.
Him, her?
I don't know what to say.
We don't know.
Whatever you think it is.
Yeah,
So we're going to call her Miss Jackson,
yeah.
right? So
Miss
Miss Jackson. And then the owner of this said property, we're going to refer to her as Miss Brown,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those should be pretty easy to follow along with,
Yeah.
I think.
And this particular property, let's just say it was a piece of land. It wasn't, but let's just say it was.
Yeah, we're going to give you as much detail as we can without really exposing
Everything.
everything, right?
Right.
So on this instance for this
Mhm.
deal, we had generated this lead actually a year ago tomorrow.
Yeah, it's crazy because I was like, let me check to see in our CRM when we actually like had this first initial conversation with this lead, and it was September 19th.
September 19th of 2023.
Yeah.
And as you
insane.
know, today is, well, you guys will see this on the 20th, but today is September 18th of 2024. So we went almost a full year with this lead,
Right.
right? And I must say, in the beginning, everything was smooth.
Everything was good. And I mean, we can start from the beginning of like how we got this lead. So this was from a cold call.
Yep.
And our VA cold called the seller.
Miss
Tu-
Brown.
Miss Brown.
Yep.
Yep. Turns out that they wanted to sell. Everything was good, but it was just a full on long process of everything. Because I don't think you went on the appointment right away, or maybe you did.
It was definitely within like the first couple of weeks that we had got this lead.
Yeah, I think I had a couple of follow ups before we actually set a solid appointment.
Okay, possibly.
I should bring my computer out here.
Yeah, we
'cause
should
I'm not
totally
sure.
if we have, the stuff, we'll throw it up on the screen for you guys. But yeah, so pretty much what happened is we got this lead September 19th, and then at some point in the
I
following
think in
weeks-
October you went on an appointment.
in October, I went on an appointment. I met with
Miss Brown.
Miss Brown and Mr. Brown, actually, so husband and wife. And everything went very smoothly. I checked out the property. I told him that
The piece of land.
I told him that this is definitely a unique property, and
Yeah.
it's not something that we've exactly done in the past.
Mhm.
It's just different. And we believe that it is commercial, right? So commercial pricing is typically based off of the rent or income that is generating, right?
Right.
This one actually had zero income because they were using it for
Just
more
for themselves.
for themselves.
Storage, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was a little bit difficult to really understand what it could sell for, knowing the exact value at the time. But we had asked them, "Hey, what price are you looking for?" They
Mhm,
spit out a number. We told them like, "I don't. I think we actually had to come down a little bit from their original number. Like, we don't think that it will sell that high." And just being completely open and honest with you,
mhm.
can we meet somewhere around 150,000?
Alright, let me go get my computer. Alright, okay,
That
alright, you can keep
was pretty
going.
cool. I don't know where'd that come from.
I know,
How'd you
right?
do that?
Alright. So, yeah, so like we were saying back in, last year, September 19th, when we got the lead, um, you're talking about when you went on the appointment? I'm just looking at the notes we had from this lead.
Yep.
Let's see, so September 29th, I called, she asked if I could call her in an hour, and I did, but no answer. Okay, so October 11th, appointment set at 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah,
So this is why you guys also need a CRM, right?
to
Because we
keep
can
track of
we can
everything.
go back and look at all these notes and everything that we have on every single lead that was generated. So for times like this, it definitely comes in handy. And we didn't know a year ago that we would even be having a podcast or going through the situation. So
Okay, so here. So October 20th. So we went on the appointment the 11th. And the 20th, I have in here, I told her we won't be able to move forward with the land, but said if she needs help finding another buyer, we can help her with that.
okay,
Right? She wants me to touch base with her next week. So the following week, or actually 4 days later, I called and left a voicemail. And then October 27th, so 3 days later, they are they are allow us I should put allowing, they're allowing us to find a buyer, they just want their 150.
there you have it.
Yeah,
Right,
$150,000 is what they wanted.
right. So we came to those terms, right? Obviously, we were not
But we
being.
were not under agreement at that time because I remember after you went for that first initial appointment, I went back with, another buyer, we actually should have him on here, um we'll see, I have to ask him if he'll be on the podcast, but I showed him and I showed someone else that comes into the studio here a lot too. I'll tell you guys after who it is, but she was there as well, and we walked through and they're, like, interested, thinking to have, like, studio apartments in there or something like that, they just had to reach out to zoning. So, that was October 30th where I set appointments with buyers at 4:30 and so on and so forth, and then that kinda just died down because I kept reaching out to them, but nothing, no
Right.
interest really.
So we were going through the situation where obviously you were very upfront saying this isn't something that we're going to purchase,
Yeah.
but we're more than open to just helping you, right?
Mhm.
So we can help you bring some buyers through, see what they would be willing to offer, what they can pay,
Yeah.
and that'll kind of give us a better guideline of what the valuation of this property would be. Right. And then from there, as you said, it started to die away, and there's several reasons of why it started to die down. One of them was Mr. Brown had
Mhm.
some complications going through this process.
Well, that was so we're still back in October. During that time, like, he was, like, iffy about
Yeah.
selling,
Yep.
and so she really wanted to sell, but he was still a little iffy, so one day he would wanna sell, then the next day he'd be like, "No, I don't wanna sell."
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's just we didn't want to like force it upon them, like
Right.
like we want to sell or we want to get this under contract. We're just like, hey, like whatever you guys want to do.
Mhm.
We're very easygoing with them. These folks are a little bit older, but still very competent of everything that was going on.
Yeah. So, I mean, we basically let it die down because the last notes, from 2023 was just the photos we uploaded, from the drive here. So that was October 31st. And then next time in my follow-ups, reached out April 5th, called, left a voicemail just to check in,
Yeah.
see how things were going. And I continue to follow up. Oh, no, my bad. It's because we switched CRMs at that time. So I did reach out in January, I believe. Yeah, we were going back when I forget what's the other CRM?
Um.
Reach Genius. We're
Oh
working
yeah,
with
we
Reach
were
Genius, yeah.
working with them.
Then we went back to Ari Simply. If you guys need a CRM, check the link down below. We can hook you up with that. But, what? I think I met with them at their house. When was it? Yo, I have so many notes in here. Okay. Alright, so January 15th, 2024. Had a great call with Miss Brown. They're looking to sell the land. She said that they put a sign out front and got some calls, but a guy offered them 60K and they were not having it. I explained how we can find a buyer and she seemed really interested. She wants to talk to her husband more about it, but I guaranteed her that she would get her 150. I also shared that I could put a lockbox on it and handle all the showings and negotiations and told her that our benefits is that the buyer would pay us at the end of the day so that she wouldn't have to worry about that. She said she will call me back after she speaks with her husband, and I said if I don't hear from her, then I'll call her back tomorrow. So yeah, that was January 15th of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, I for when did we actually get under contract?
So there was a time where I actually went to her house
Yeah.
and went through the whole agreement with them. But at that time, we were in her office, I remember, and everything was good. I think she signed first, I signed, and then her husband was getting ready to sign, and he signed actually. But then he was like, "No, I don't want to do this. You need to rip up this paper, everything." And I was like,
Yeah, I remember
"Okay,
you
yeah,
telling me this.
whatever. Like, if you don't feel comfortable with moving forward, that's all good." So I think they shredded the paper while we were there, which everything was fine. We still didn't calculate it as a dead lead. We still, were like,
Right, because
eventually they will want to sell.
one party wants to sell, one party doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, who's gonna win that battle? You never know, so might as well just continue to check up on them.
Yeah, most definitely.
Right.
And I don't even know when that was, but I have it here. July 1st, she signed the contract on Saturday, and today she said to come after 4 PM to get the keys from the warehouse. So everything worked out, right? Follow-up is key, as you guys can see. We continue to follow up with this lead, from getting it a year ago, basically, like, just
Yeah.
reaching out constantly, even though a seller may say no at the moment, anything can change, their circumstances can change, so you just wanna make sure you're following up with these leads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So from there, Miss Brown ended up getting POA over her husband, Mr. Brown.
But yeah, well, we got the agreement signed. We got the agreement signed and we told her. And I mean, I told her specifically. I was like, with it being a commercial property, land,
Yep.
even though it's not land, but with it being commercial, like you said in the beginning, we don't know the value of what the property is because it's not generating any income.
Right, and there's not other similar properties in the area
And we
to it.
looked up so many comps, like, there's nothing similar to that, so I told her, I was like, "I don't know if I can get you this 150 number, but I'm gonna try my best to."
Yeah.
That's the exact words, and
Yeah, she'll repeat that to you to this day, I think.
she knows I said that.
Yeah, because she said it on the last phone call we just had with her.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, during this process, though, a little bit later on down the road, Mr. Brown starts to show signs of dementia. Is
Mhm.
that correct? Okay. Um, in which Mrs. Brown, on her own,
Yeah,
decides to go get POA over him for this property.
yeah.
Right. So she was like, he's not in good standings currently, and I just want this thing sold.
Yeah, she was just tired of the property.
Exactly, right, and this is where people like ourselves come in perfectly, like,
Mhm.
when you have a distressed seller, and they're just looking for a quick, easy, like, "I want this amount of money, here's the situation, here's the property, here's, I have POA,"
Yeah.
you get an agreement signed, everything's going exactly how it should be, any other wholesale transaction, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, and you were very transparent with her. You're like, "Listen, like, I'm gonna try my best to get you 150,000. We'll write it up for that price, but I
Yeah.
can't guarantee that's how much we'll get."
Right.
Because at that time, I mean, we have no clue what we can get for this
We
property.
really did not know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's when it comes to wholesaling, like you'll hear a lot of people say that I want to know what your assignment fee is going to be upfront. In situations like this, there's absolutely no way to
Mhm.
understand like what it could be. Our highest offer could have been 120,000. We have to go back and tell her like, listen, we only got offered 120. Could we do it for 115 so we make 5K at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Anything like that. It could go higher, it could go substantially higher, where at the end of the day, if it went way higher, me and
Mhm.
Stephanie would go back and be like, "Listen, we actually got offers for way more than we expected, like, we can definitely bump up your price a little bit from that 150 number just so it's fair. Like, we
Mhm.
don't want people thinking like we're going out and purposely stealing whatever equity in their property that they have, but still, I mean, Stephanie and myself, we obviously spent a very long time on this property, put a lot of
Yeah.
work into it. I met there. So, anyways, we go ahead, get our contract, everything's cool.
And another assignment on top of us having to sell the property was she really was concerned with the stuff within inside the property. Like it was so much stuff that they had within
Yeah,
storage that they just wanted to sell. And she even said that her grandson tried to sell it, but it just wasn't working out. And I told her we'll try our best to, sell some things for you as well so that you don't have to worry about all that stuff.
right. And that's exactly what I did.
Mhm.
So, a lot of the it's so hard to follow up with this land, but right. So,
Li-
within this subsector of land,
yeah.
there were a lot of automotive kind of
You don't have to say
parts.
specific, but like bigger
Right,
bigger
bigger
items.
items. And then at which, I had some of my buddies come through, a couple
Mhm.
buyers, and everyone I knew who was into cars, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, hey, like I have this. Would you want be interested in making an offer? Would you like to purchase it?
And we would go back and forth with Miss Brown, like, "How much did you want for this? We have this
Exactly.
many buyers for this."
And she was so difficult with it, like, she would never give us a price for anything, she just wanted to know what their price was first, and then she would just counter that with a higher price, like, 'cause she
Mhm.
had no clue what any of this stuff was worth, which I don't blame her, like, I wouldn't
I
either.
don't know, yeah.
Exactly, right, so, I brought these people in, they're like, "I'm interested, like, how much?" And I can't tell them how much because I don't have a price, so I'd be like, "Just tell me, like, how much you wanna pay, like, realistically, like, what do you believe is a fair amount?"
Yeah.
They would go ahead, tell me something, I would relay that information to Miss Brown. She would be like, "Okay, let me get back to you." And it sucks, it's, like, a hard time when you run into that situation because 'cause they're, like they're there, they're ready to
They're
purchase it now,
ready.
they have
Yeah.
cash in hand, and I'm ended up waiting a full 24, 48, 72 hours until I actually get a response of,
Mhm.
"No, I want this much," right? And then I have to reach back out to them, have them come back to this property so we could then finally do the transaction and whole ass hassle, right? And there was times like I was at this property for on numerous days for 4 plus hours, just
Yeah.
in there like sweating my ass off, like digging through
Just
this
selling
dirty
stuff, but
shit.
also,
Like, yeah, like
showing
helping everyone
buyers.
like load it up, show buyers. Like I've had so many appointments at that property,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, just a huge chunk of time just spent at that in this transaction. Right. So from there, everything is going fine,
Yep,
I'm
and we would get the money, and literally right when we get the money, either you or me would go right to her house and
yeah,
drop it off to her, and she clarified. We have it, like, on the phone call. You don't record phone calls, but, like, we have it on the phone call that she clarified that, yeah, it was the right amount every single time.
yeah, no, we have no reason to hide that. Like it's her
Yeah.
stuff. We're there to help her out. We are not gonna obviously steal from you. At the end of the day, our goal is to just sell the property, right?
Right,
And
right.
try to generate our income based off of that. We don't care
Mhm.
about the stuff inside, a couple $100 for this and that and this and that.
Right.
It is what it is. Um,
And it took some time for us to find that buyer. We did
it
have
did.
a couple days after we got under contract, we did have a buyer, but that buyer just fell through right away. Like, I don't know, he's just a little weird. He's just I don't know.
Was this your buyer or one of mine?
One of mine.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, someone
gotcha.
that reached out to me.
'Cause I had a buyer that was kind of strange too, but
Yeah, so then and I don't know, so we got under contract in July, and then the couple of days after, my buyer wasn't with it, and then it took a month? Or it was the beginning of August is when your buyer came through, right?
yeah, roughly.
Around the beginning of August, so I let her know, "We got a buyer, everything is moving smoothly."
Yep, we got under contract with that buyer.
Yep.
Everything's good to go.
He put down his EMD, so we knew he was a serious buyer.
Yep.
Um, she asked me, like, where the buyer was from and everything. I told her
Yeah.
where the buyer was from. It's in text messages, so we have the receipts with that.
Right.
She knew that we were not buying the property and that we were finding the buyer.
Yeah.
Um,
This has been stated throughout the entire year-long
Stated throughout the
process.
entire time. She knew that I am a realtor, but I was not acting as a realtor.
Yeah.
I told her. I think she even said I think later in the time, she said she reached out to a realtor before saying around that 150 price, and I told her, like, "If you list it with a realtor at that 150 price, you're not gonna get that because of the realtor fees and everything."
Yeah, and closing cost and a lot of those buyers are gonna want the place cleaned out beforehand, and,
Yeah.
with going with us, it's just a as is sale, you're not paying any fees whatsoever, a
Right.
typical wholesale transaction, right?
Yep.
It's what everyone hears. So, yes, we do. We end up finding that buyer, we get under contract with that buyer. She has a bunch of questions, everything else, and then we set a closing date for the end of August, I wanna say?
September 9th.
September
Oh,
9th.
no, 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 it was the end of
It
August, but
originally
we
was the
needed a
end.
change of terms
Right.
because she wanted a change of terms
Exactly, yeah.
because, she was like, "I have too much stuff in here
Right.
in the piece of land, and I just wanna make sure the valuable stuff that I want is out." I was like, "Oh, no, that's all good." So you
Let's
met
check
with
with the
her.
buyer first, make sure that he's able to extend his closing time frame, which, he was willing to do for us. He was a nice dude.
Yeah,
Right.
everything was good with that, and you actually went out with her because I was like, "Why
I
don't you
did.
put tape on everything you want so that we can either I can ask my dad for his truck and we could go up and then for free of charge, you don't have to worry about it. We can just take the stuff out and take it to your house, or we can order you a storage unit."
Yeah.
So that's when you went with her.
Right. So I went with her, and as we're walking through, she's like digging through everything, like
Mhm.
looking at some of the old stuff, like reminiscing on old times, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Telling me stories. Everything's going great. She had a couple questions like, "Hey, where's this thing? Where's that thing?" I was like, "Oh, it's right over here. Or, I don't remember seeing that one." And then she would
Mhm.
end up finding it. Like there was no question of like anything missing, like anything. Yeah,
Everything was fine.
everything was perfectly fine. She went
Yeah.
through and just marked a couple items with these for sale signs, or for sale stickers, I should say.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I mean, we left. And then she contacts me like a day or two later, and she was like, "Hey, one of my friends or former attorney, Miss Jackson,
Mhm.
would like to meet you
I
at the."
thought you were about to say it.
It was on the top of my head, and
Yeah.
I got it. I caught myself. She wants to meet at the property and
Yeah.
check out the one car that is in there. It
Mhm.
was a old Triumph, kind of cool car. It's a little convertible, two door,
Yeah.
whatnot. I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And I believe she gave me Miss Jackson's number. Me and Miss Jackson got in contact, and it actually took about, like, 2 weeks until we were finally able to meet up just because the schedule's not aligning.
Right.
Eventually, we finally meet up, everything is good, and then she pulls up to the property. I get out of my car, I go unlock the gate for her, and, like, there's, like, minimal words said whatsoever. I'm
Mhm.
just like, "Okay," like, "Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you."
Yeah.
Right? No. So we go inside and she's just looking around through everything.
Mhm.
And it's her and her husband, and I believe it's her kid and then her grandkids, and then also this one guy who looked like he was a mechanic. He actually
Mhm.
ended up being a really nice dude and told me that he had formerly done work on this property, like
Okay.
tree trimming and some other stuff too. So he was actually familiar with it, as well as he was familiar with Miss Brown and Mr.
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So I was like, "Oh, that's cool." We were able to talk about it a little bit, and he told me his experience with them, and then my experience, and it seemed to align pretty well.
Yeah.
Right. So everything went pretty smoothly. I was there for like 2 to 3 hours with um, Miss
Miss
Brown.
Jackson?
Oh, Miss Jackson. There we
Yeah.
go, Miss Jackson. And it was very strange. She wasn't really saying much to me whatsoever.
Mhm.
We were going around looking for everything, and then she started questioning like where stuff is again, and I'd be like, "I mean, I sold this and this and this." I was like, "Anything else? I wouldn't. I can't tell you. Like, I have no
Yeah.
idea, right?" And she was like, "Okay, like whatever." And then everything goes good. She doesn't buy anything. She doesn't really say much of anything else to me. I'm just standing there, just sweat my ass off, just seeing whatever they're doing. I don't even know
Right.
why I have to be there because Miss Brown has a key to this property. Like she's more than able to drive down the street and show Miss Jackson,
Yeah.
everything that's in there. Whatever. I went out of my way. I wanted to be nice. I was like, here, like, here's access. Take a
Mhm.
look around. I'll stand here and wait for you to be done. Lock it all up when I'm done. It's exactly what happened. And then we leave.
And during that time and after you and Miss Brown went to the property and put the stickers when she put the stickers on, then I reached out to her. I don't know if it was maybe a couple days later to see like, okay, I remember you told me that it's actually not that much stuff that she wanted. Like she doesn't really
No,
need a
not
storage
at
unit,
all.
so she could save money. And I
Yeah.
just confirmed with her like you could get a storage unit or we can help you or
Yeah,
however you
because
want to go about it.
the stuff that she had marked down, like, for sale stickers on, she
Yeah.
had her grandson, I guess, come in the next day or the day after, the day
Mhm.
following, and he was going to go ahead and list all this stuff on Facebook Marketplace and try to get whatever is left sold that she thought was of value,
Yeah.
right? So he was in there moving stuff around, everything else.
Right.
Um, and then yeah, so finally we're like coming close to that closing date, and I could tell there was something off with Miss Jackson. Like she was a bit strange, right?
Mhm.
And then I believe she had asked Miss Brown about a certain item, and Miss Brown was like, "Oh, like I don't know." And then like I guess years ago or a year plus ago, Miss
Mhm.
Jackson had like videos and pictures of the entire place, everything else, right?
Yeah.
So she was like, "No, look, this was right here. This was right here." And as I said, like I sold like two or three major items in the place, and that was it. Like I
Mhm.
didn't touch anything else. And then
And it turns out we realized after that you weren't even the only one that had the key. Miss Brown had the key. Miss Jackson turned out to have a key because she was cleaning it out for some reason. I don't know.
yeah,
So, and then her grandson, I believe, had a key too.
I don't believe he had a
Or
key. I
no?
think he took Miss Brown's key.
Okay.
Right, so he went in there on multiple occasions, and, like, other people were there too, and, like, neighbors have said this as well, like, our
Right.
neighbor saw people coming in and out, moving stuff around,
Yep.
or neighbors of this property, I should say, not our
Mhm.
neighbors. Um, anyways, we're coming to the day of closing,
Yeah.
so our buyers are excited, they're ready to go.
Everything's good. It's a Monday morning.
Yep,
Um, I actually, well, it was Friday because the title company's in Lancaster, PA. The property we're dealing with is in Harrisburg.
yeah,
And I didn't wanna be too specific, but
yep,
it's in Harrisburg, and Miss Brown didn't wanna drive all the way to Lancaster to close because that's a little 45-minute drive.
yeah,
So, I asked the title company, "Could we get a notary to come down to her?" They're like, "Yep, that's no problem. Where did you wanna meet at?"
she
I was
wanted to
like,
meet at said property.
"Yep, at the property at this time." So, they just needed her contact information, so they connected with her. Everything was all set in stone, for it was like 1 o'clock that day. Everything was good.
Yep,
Monday morning comes around and they ask me about their Miss Brown's POA. They're like, "Oh, we need these POA docs before we can actually close." Because if she would have gave it to me right away, we would have had it by 1 o'clock and could have closed at 1. So I reached out to her and I don't know, maybe like 9, 10 in the morning, let her know that we need the POA docs, everything is set in stone, everything's all good. And I think she missed my call, so I texted her.
mhm,
I have that text for that. And then I'm still not hearing anything, so I gave her another call. And then I'm talking to her, and I believe on that call, her she was like, "I don't wanna move forward, I don't feel comfortable," and then brings up another buyer saying, "I have another buyer at 175."
yep,
Wasn't too specific with that, and then she also brought up there was things missing within the piece of land
yeah.
over there. I was like, "Why?" I'm just so confused because everything was all good and we're
We
a
gave them the
couple hours.
extension, like, everything they needed.
Yeah, a couple hours before closing, and then what else did she bring up? She was like, "I want a 90-day extension."
She did say that.
Um, I also want an inspection, which is so weird for a seller to get an inspection,
On their property that's
with the
being
property
sold.
being sold as is.
Yeah.
Um, so
So, like, if
everything
the
was just
buyer
very
requested it,
weird.
that's, like, more understandable. It's like, oh, the buyer wants to make sure the
Right.
property is good, but no, it's Miss Brown who had brought up, "Hey, I want an inspection on my property the day of closing." We're like,
Yeah.
"That's not possible," and she was like, "Well, I don't know if she said, "I wanna back out of the contract," but she did bring up how she had another buyer at 175,000. We're
She
like,
didn't say back out at that point, she just said the 90 I want a 90-day extension, and then her grandson came on the phone and was like, "No, we need to have this 90-day extension," like, trying to be more,
assertive.
yeah, yeah, "Have this 90-day extension," so on and so forth. He was like, "Also, I need the key back as soon as possible." I was like, "Well, Skyler does have the key, he's at work. He doesn't get off until 2:30, so we just have to coordinate that, but I'm just kinda confused because everything was fine till this point, we were able to get the price you were looking for, everything like that,
Mhm.
and then that kinda ended the conversation there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I believe I call Miss Brown then, a
Yeah.
couple hours later, and it's, like, right after she doesn't show up for closing, right?
Mhm.
So I was like, "Hey, like, what's going on? I heard that, you're not comfortable with the sale of the property right now. Is everything okay?" She was like, "Yeah, Skylar." She was like, "I don't know. Something just isn't right here." And I'm just like, "What could it be?
Yeah.
What's irritating you?" And she was like, I can't put my finger on it, but something fishy is going on." I'm
Mhm.
just like, "Okay." I was like, "I'm just letting you know, we're set to close today, like, our buyer's ready, he's excited, like,
Yeah.
he has his entire business, he wants to move into this property."
Mhm.
And granted, our buyer had taken out a hard
Hard
money
money.
loan at a
No, I
13.9%.
think it was higher than that.
Well, he had 2 different loans. He had a hard money loan, and then he also had a business, credit,
Oh, okay.
uh, business line of credit that he had pulled out as well. The business line of credit, he's paying 25% on,
Yeah.
and then the hard money loan, he was paying 13.9% on.
And it's 2,000 a week,
He was paying $2,051 and some change every
every
single
week.
week
Yeah.
that he doesn't have this property, right? Oh, even once he had the property,
Yeah.
like, he still had to pay that.
Starting from when, yeah,
Exactly,
of
right.
that closing date.
Exactly. So 90-day extension, we're like, "He can't do that, we can't do that,"
Mhm. I mean,
everything's
we're ready now, you're getting a little bit more than what you anticipated.
right, we're actually getting a little above that 150 mark, like,
Yeah.
we didn't come back and try to renegotiate or anything with her, like, we went ahead, told her, like, "Hey, after reviewing the HUD and everything, it looks like you're actually getting more than expected."
Mhm.
And yeah, she's still having this conversation, me like, "No, something doesn't seem right, it seems fishy, something, something, something." And I'm like, "Okay," like, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, we go
Well,
ahead
yeah, we didn't know what to do. We're like, we never had this happen before. Like, what? Everyone was happy until a couple hours before closing, right?
exactly.
So we're like, okay, the seller doesn't want to show up to closing, and she doesn't want to sign. So, we reached out to
I reached out
so
to
many people. Shout out to a lot of people on the podcast, the guests we had.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
He told us, like, "Go ahead and file a memorandum." We're
yeah.
like, "We've never done that before. Do you have a copy?" He's like, "No, I don't have a copy."
So we're reaching out to so many
We're trying to,
people.
like, just and what a memorandum is basically, you would get this piece of paper signed and then take it to your court's house, the
Yeah, the
city
county courthouse
city,
city.
county,
Yeah.
whatever courthouse, to show them, like, "Hey, like, I have interest in this property at said price,"
Mhm.
something I don't know
Just so
exactly.
they can't like sell
It
it
would pretty
behind
much
your
put a
back
lien on the
or
property.
yeah.
Exactly, so they're incapable of reselling the property out from under us,
Mhm.
right? And that's something specifically that we wanted to do when she mentioned that she had another buyer at 175,000.
Yeah.
Like, that's BS, like, we already spent a year and so many hours
Mhm.
helping you through this process, showing buyers, cleaning out the property, meeting with people that you wanted to come see the property, everything else, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then so we're like, okay, so we're reaching out to a bunch of people trying to find a memorandum. Eventually, I do find one just through a different title company off on one that we were using.
Mhm.
And
And then there was someone else, another friend of ours was like, "You need to have an attorney write this up, write the memorandum up and,
right,
um" or something else. It was memorandum or something. But then
a lien of some sort.
the buyer's agent, because the buyer had a buyer's agent,
He
which
did.
he didn't really represent him, but he just kinda guided him through
He
it.
was involved in the
He was involved though.
yeah,
And he was like, "No, no, guys, let's see if we can do this without getting an attorney involved, and see if I can mediate this." So we're like, "Okay, let's have you call the seller, see if you can kind of see what the situation is, what's going on, and everything."
like why
Um,
she's acting strange about it.
yeah.
Right.
And also, a friend of ours was like, maybe call the title company to kind of mediate everything. And I did, and the title company was like, we can't do that.
Yeah. No, not at all.
So that's when the buyer's agent, he called the seller, and I mean, I'm being completely transparent. We were on the line too, so we heard what happened, but we were quiet, we were muted
Yeah.
and stuff.
We were just trying to understand where she was coming from.
Yeah.
Like why all of a sudden like the skepticism in
Mhm.
regards to closing this deal. Their phone call lasted like 10, 15 minutes or something. She pretty much told him the same thing that she told us. Like
Yeah.
she didn't have a real reason. Like she just didn't feel right about it.
Yeah, she was like, "I wanna pray about it," or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, and he came in and he was like, "Yep." He was like, "God bless you," and she was like, "I'm a woman of God." He was like, "So am I."
No, he was like, "My buyer is a man of God," or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was like, "I want your good blessing on this closing,"
Yeah.
like, sales tactic called already assuming the sale,
Mhm.
right? So, like, letting her know, like, "Alright, this is gonna go through," like, and just kind of already putting her perspective
Yeah.
in that mindset.
Basically saying, like, his buyer's ready, like, he's excited
Exactly.
about this.
Smart strategy, I liked it.
Mhm.
And then yeah,
And then
so
she basically was talking about, "You have to speak with my representative."
right,
Yeah.
right. So then he goes ahead and calls Miss Jackson,
Mhm.
her
Representative.
representative. Miss Jackson then hops on the line with the buyer's agent
And let me
and
tell you, they were on the phone, and we were on the phone too with them, but muted, so we didn't speak at all.
3
3
hours.
hour this phone call kinda drained me, like, I was so tired, I was just, like, over it, yo.
Dude, I was just sitting in my car, just had my AirPods in, dying,
Yeah.
listening to this not dying, like, laughing, just, like, physically draining and dying. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, this is the most
Never
repetitive thing I've ever
Yeah.
heard in my entire life. Why is there so many damn questions
Mhm.
related to this transaction?"
Right.
And the buyer's agent is doing phenomenal.
Mhm.
He is, like, handling the situation as good as me or you could have done, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like reassuring her, like, Listen, this is how this transaction works.
Mhm.
Everything has been relayed to Miss Brown. Everything's been fully transparent. This is like, there's no skepticism. There's no reason to be skeptic.
Yeah, so Miss Jackson has been in Miss Brown's ear, as
So
we
we
can
come to find
see.
out, yep,
Yeah.
Miss Jackson has been saying stuff to Miss Brown and pretty
Basically
much,
saying that, like, we're scamming her or something like
yeah, like
that.
we're some, yeah, exactly. Go
And
ahead.
the buyer agent was like, "How could they be scamming you if you're actually getting more than what you expected to get,
Yeah,
of
exactly.
what you wanted? You're getting more than what you wanted."
Yeah,
So it just didn't make sense at all.
none of it made sense at
No.
all. So yeah, they have this 3 hour long phone call, and by the end, it's like,
It didn't go
we
nowhere.
didn't really get anywhere.
She was more irritated. She was like, "I just don't know.
Yeah. And,
This
like,
is just a whole mess."
as he's going through and explaining it step by step how this works, she's like, "I'm confused.
She
I'm
started
getting more irritated." And, like, he was like, "Oh, it's okay, like,
He's
calm
like, "Let me
down."
take you out to dinner."
Yeah, like, he was like, "You need a what do you like? You like steak? Let's go get a steak and
He
talk
said,
about
"I
this in
wasn't hungry.
person."
Let me just take you
You
out."
did say that, yo. He's a goon.
That cracked me up,
He's funny
yo.
as hell.
But,
Um,
it kinda ended it there. That was probably at, like, 7 o'clock at night, close to 8,
dude, yeah. I
and
wanted to go to the golfing range, but it was already dark
so
out.
nothing really happened that day other
No.
than those phone calls. So then the next day, we all touched base, and I don't think we called I don't think that time we spoke to, Miss Brown. I think the buyer's agent was still kinda mediating everything. He was still talking with, Miss Jackson.
I don't know if it was Miss Brown or Miss Jackson that morning. I forget which
No,
one.
I think it was Miss Jackson.
Yeah.
I think it was Miss Jackson, and then we were on the phone as well,
Oh,
but
right.
muted,
But I had to hang up because I was at work and I'm not allowed to drive around the warehouse with my AirPod in.
and all she cared about was how much is Sky Resort, our company. She's like, "How much is the company making, and how much," so she knows our names,
Yeah.
Stephanie and Skylar. She's like, "I wanna know how much Stephanie and Skylar are making,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah," even though the Miss Brown isn't even paying for what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's
No,
the
not at all. It's
buyers,
the buyer that pays every fee
and the
that we
buyer
have.
is happy. He even said on the phone, he's like, "I'm happy with paying their fee. I'm happy with,
Yeah.
all
Like,
the
he felt
fees
as
are
though he was
involved."
getting a very fair deal for this property and,
Mhm.
you know, the seller, Miss Brown, was getting more money than we had even promised her.
Yeah.
And then this agent representative, we're also in the works of possibly paying him a commission, not paying. It was a that was a little side quest we had to figure out, but we didn't even get to that point.
Mhm.
Right.
But that's
So
all she cared about, just of how much we were making.
exactly.
Not us, but, like, our company.
Yeah, how much is that company making? But
Yeah.
then it did call out our individual names, right?
Yeah.
And she was concerned about that. And we told her, like,
Which is fine. If you're watching this now, appreciate the viewership.
yeah, right? Like,
Yeah.
thanks for giving us a good story.
Yeah.
Screwing us over, but also giving us a good story. Um, so yeah, it came
Oh,
down
and the main
to
thing, okay, I remembered. On that same day, the buyer agent did call, Miss Brown. Miss Brown, they had their little conversation, and then that's when I think she was like, "I do feel more comfortable. Let me just talk more about it with my representative,
mhm,
with Miss Jackson," and that ended it there. And then we're like, the buyer's agent was like, "Maybe you guys should call Miss, Brown to see if you can even mediate it a little bit."
right. So then after my
We
lunch,
talked to Miss Brown,
yeah,
yeah.
so during my lunch break, we spent probably like 15 minutes or so talking to Miss Brown on the phone.
Yeah,
Just really trying to understand like where she's coming from and letting her know like, hey, this is not a scam by any means.
yeah,
We
we're
got
like,
this
"We're so confused, like, everything just
right. Like
switched
we've
so
done this a
fast," and
million times. Like,
yeah,
we've never had this issue arise before. What is your issue? Like,
yeah,
I mean, I didn't say it in a rude way, but like, is everything okay? Pretty much. And yeah, she just kept on repeating herself like, something seems fishy.
Well, no, she was like, "I just don't trust Stephanie." I was like, "What
Yeah,
did
yeah,
I do,
she
yo?"
did call that out. She was like, Stephanie came in and she seemed like such an honest person. She
Yeah,
was like, I just can't believe, she would turn out to be this way or something.
and I'm
And
like, "What did we do? What did I do? Why
you
is
didn't
it my"
exactly. And like you have text to prove that everything that has been stated
Yeah,
is there.
and
Like this
I
is stuff
told
that has
her.
all been sold.
'Cause she kept bringing
And
up the buyer part of, like,
exactly.
I didn't know that you guys weren't the buyer." I was like,
Exactly.
Miss
That's what Miss
Brown,
Jackson had even said to us too. She was
we
like,
have it in writing here that"
She was like, "Miss Brown didn't know that you guys are even selling the property to somebody else." We're like, "Yes, she does."
Yeah,
Like, this has been stated so many
so
times,
many.
so many. We're like,
Yeah.
"This is BS." Like, no offense, it
And I remember
is.
the call, I was like, "Miss Brown, God sees me, God sees you, God sees us all."
He was
I was
like,
like and then because we also got accused of stealing stuff
"Yeah," they're like,
in the
"Stuff is."
land and the property.
Exactly, and
I
Miss
was like, "God
Miss
sees
Jackson
us.
was
We
like,
didn't touch any of your things.
"Yeah."
We helped you sell them, and can you verify that we did give you the right amount of cash each time?" She's like, "Yeah, you did."
So what the f is the issue,
Yeah,
right?
it's something.
Exactly. So then we're like, "You know what? It is what it is." We go to the following day. I believe we had a couple more conversations with the buyer's agent that day, seeing if he got anywhere. He's asking if we got anywhere with it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much kind of where it was. Um, and then the following day, we're kind of like, you know what? That's it. We're getting an attorney involved.
Mhm,
Right. So we reached out to a former attorney that we had on the podcast. Absolutely great dude. And he doesn't really act on these smaller cases or stuff like this really as much anymore.
mhm. Do you have
Um,
your phone? Cause
Mhm.
I don't have mine, it's over there. I remember Miss Jackson um,
Dude, I'm getting old.
the buyer agent basically like, "We want Stephanie and Skyler out of the deal,"
Yeah.
and kinda wanted to go behind our backs and everything. But
Yeah.
we put this whole thing together.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Let me see if I can find
The
the
group message, I think, is the property address, I believe. Yeah, it's just
it
crazy.
is. Um,
'Cause and then going back a little bit, when Miss Jackson, cause she was cleaning the property out, we don't know why. It's like, why aren't you suspecting the person that's cleaning the property out to be taking these things or whatever she was looking for that was missing? But she was cleaning it out, and one day our buyer actually just pulled up to the property. I don't know why did he pull up to the property, just to see it or something?
yeah, I'm not exactly sure why he did that.
So I guess they exchanged contacts then. So I don't know if that was the buyer she brought to Miss Brown when she told me a couple hours before closing saying, "We have a buyer at this price," or I don't believe so. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah. All right, so a message that I had sent on Monday, September 9th to Miss Brown. I said, "We are very confused on why the sudden change happened a couple hours before closing, with you wanting to stop this process. Throughout this process, we have been completely transparent and explained that we wouldn't be the ones purchasing the property, but that we would be finding the buyer for you that would purchase the property in as is condition." And that is exactly what we did. We also had entered into a legal binding purchase agreement that was consummated by an earnest money deposit payment. A legal breach of this agreement could result in legal actions. Also, with us helping you sell the major things in the warehouse and even offering to help you take the other things out of the warehouse free of charge. Our buyer is our buyer that is ready to purchase the property has put down $5,000, which is held in escrow at the title company, and this shows that he is serious about moving forward. He was already in the process of getting ready to close on the property today to start moving in things for his trucking company.
Mhm.
Um, right. So at that point, we had went ahead and talked to the attorney. He pretty much was like, "Oh yeah, no, she's in breach of contract."
Yeah.
It's pretty easily stated. Like he looked through our purchase and sales, he looked through our assignment, everything else.
Mhm.
She's like, "No, this is just a straightforward breachment of contract." We need to go through and get this filed. Everything else,
And
like,
we weren't like he wasn't rushing at that time. Cause he was like, "Oh, I'll just do it whenever I'm not as busy," but we had to kinda
oh,
expedite the process.
so something funny had happened where
It's such a
we were
shame,
supposed
like
to have a podcast guest this day.
yeah.
Right? And, did we end up still filming a podcast that day? I forget.
Yeah. Oh, no, we didn't. We
We did
canceled the pod.
we did
Yeah.
cancel that one? So yeah, we were supposed to have a podcast guest that day, so Stephanie goes ahead and, calls her,
Which
and
she's super sweet, super
she
sweet.
is,
Like,
like, no
nothing to do
nothing
with
bad to
this.
say with her
Yeah.
whatsoever, right? But she was somehow already informed of this entire situation going down within a
Well, I was
matter.
just calling to confirm, like, are we all good and
Yeah,
everything?
for the
Cause she
podcast.
yeah, I texted her and then she was like, "Call me," and I talked to her. She's like, "I don't think we should do it. We should film." And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "'Cause the land situation."
Yeah,
I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, I'm so confused. Like,
yeah,
my mom was over there too, cause I was at my house, and I was just have the most confused look on my face, like, "How do you know? Like, what are you talking about?" And she was like, "With so and so," and I was like,
Miss
"Oh,
Brown.
like, how are you involved, basically?" And she's like, "She reached out to me to list the land." I was like, "Oh, yeah, we shouldn't do the podcast."
Yeah, so we need to expedite this process with the attorney,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, you get a hold of our attorney earlier that morning, let him know of the current situation,
Mhm.
um, and that we need this like done ASAP, right?
Yeah.
Just so that they're not able to go through and sell the property
Right.
out from under us. So he goes ahead and takes a look back through everything because he looked at our purchase and sales agreement before. He was like, everything looks good. Like
Everything's great.
it's very
He wrote
simple.
up the complaint. We will look through it. It looked we just had to change her home property address.
Yeah, not much though. Like
Yeah.
everything was pretty straightforward and good on that.
And then he also asked me to reach out to the title company to get the deed. So I reached out to them. They sent me the deed probably like an hour later. I sent it to him and he was like, "Oh, hold up. We got an issue." I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, shoot." So the main issue, and this is definitely a learning lesson.
I was gonna say this is the one she wanted. Yeah,
Yeah. So on our purchase and sell agreement, we got the name off of public records.
public
Cause
records
yeah, that's what it is. Like typically it's the name from public records straight from the
for
MLS
the owner of this property.
for the owner of the property. We put their company name because that's what it
It's
shows on
supposedly
public
owned by this
records.
company.
Turns out the deed wasn't in their company name. It was in their personal names this time. So just because of that major, switch there,
Discrepancy.
yeah, we could not move forward. It makes our contract invalid.
Right.
That's such a shame, man.
So
Yeah.
after a year of work and, selling things for her, helping her out,
Yep.
going through this entire process, her getting POA over her husband,
Mhm.
us finally finding a buyer, getting that under contract with the buyer,
Yeah.
him getting his financing, everything being set with the title company, having a notary come in to meet with Miss Brown. Turns out all for nothing.
Yeah. And the
Absolutely
one
nothing.
that's really I mean, we're screwed from our fee of helping,
Right.
that the
So
buyer
our
was gonna pay, but the most important part is the buyer is screwed from because
he
we
can't
we
return.
asked him, we were like, "Can you return your loan back?" No, he's not they're not allowing him to
He's paying
return.
$2,000 a week on a loan that he can't use on a property.
Yeah, I feel so bad for
Yeah, I
him.
feel horrible,
It's crazy.
but at the end of the day, we did everything we could.
Yeah.
The only thing that maybe we could have done differently is ask for the deed right away and
Mhm.
made sure that we had the proper name on the contract, because I guess public records wasn't correct in this
And we
case.
never throughout every deal we had, public records was fine, and
Yeah.
title company seemed to be fine with it.
Yeah,
They
the
woulda
title
went
company never
through with
called.
it.
Yeah, exactly, they
Yeah.
never called anything out, right? And what had actually got me a little bit hopeful, after receiving that bad news was I was reading through, like, the whole, um, letter that our attorney had sent.
Yeah.
And in there, it had stated that, the name of this company is directly associated with the name of the owner, right? So you
Mhm.
could still take this to court and say, listen, like, it's clearly the same thing, same entity going
Mhm.
on here. But I guess in the state of PA, you would legally need the husband's signature as well, then,
Yeah.
the husband and wife, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess we didn't have the husbands at this point,
No,
right? Because
he signed, I think, cause his name wasn't associated with the
with the
company.
company, yeah,
Yeah.
just her name was associated with the company.
Mhm.
Right, so, realistically, we were just yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I feel like, you guys gotta be so careful, cause people are gonna be out there spreading lies. That's why I wanted us to share this as well, 'cause I
Yeah,
at
like
first, I was at the on the fence of, like, maybe we shouldn't share this.
yeah, and, like,
We
our
should keep
buyer's
it
agent was telling us, like, "You need to stop posting on social media, you need to stop, posting all these podcasts, like, going
Mhm.
into detail of everything that you're doing. Like, you have people out here watching you, like, they're gonna get a bad taste in their mouth or"
Let them watch, yo. Yo,
exactly, like
run up the views.
the entire reason we do this podcast is just to be transparent with newbies.
Yeah.
Like, if you are a new real estate investor and you wanna see, like, the ups and downs and truly downs of this
No,
business.
no, no, we got ups too.
No, we have huge ups. I
Yeah.
think we have bigger ups than we have downs, but
Yeah.
we've had pretty substantial downs, and this was definitely one of them. Like, it was
Yeah.
a decent fee that we have lost out on, and aside from that, a numerous amount of hours spent on this deal and just
Mhm.
mental stress,
Yeah.
I would say,
But yeah,
that
don't let no one ruin your reputation when you know you did right. Like, we did right by the whole
everything.
process. We were transparent through the whole process.
We did it.
We never
Yeah,
stole anything. Like, we were upfront about everything.
yeah. And granted, the the land was just full of junk. We didn't want anything that was in there. That stuff's been sitting for
No.
like 20 plus years. I'm like, I don't want
Yeah,
this.
it's crazy.
Right, exactly. So it was just, obviously a huge learning lesson. Check the deed.
Yeah.
Make sure it's the same thing on the deed
And
that you
maybe
were
just double close.
and just double close
Yeah.
probably. Like,
Oh, yo, I forgot. We missed out a part when the buyer's agent had the phone call with Miss Jackson.
mhm.
She brought up our podcast. She was like,
Oh yeah.
"Yeah, I was watching, Stephanie and Skyler's podcast about the new laws and stuff,"
Yeah.
and it's like, you were a previous attorney or something. You should know the laws haven't even been in place yet, and mind you, we're still doing everything is legal that we're
Yeah,
doing.
like we were very transparent with, hey, this is our fee. This
Mhm.
is what you're getting. It turns out you're getting more than expected.
Yeah.
The buyer is paying everything here. They want to know the total amount that the buyer had to get a loan for,
She wanted to know all the
which
buyer
is not her information.
information. Yeah.
Yeah, she does not need to know all the buyer's financial information.
Yeah.
Like that's for him to that's confidential to him,
Mhm.
right? It's personal business, but even then, like still shared it.
Yeah.
Like this is his total loan amount, right? This
Yeah,
is
the buyer agent was super transparent. We gotta have him on the podcast. That'd be
yeah,
cool.
we're gonna have him on the podcast
Yeah.
actually at some point. He does have a decent following too, so some of you
Yeah.
might recognize him.
Mhm.
Really cool dude. He's like actually our age too.
Owns a
Absolute
title company.
yeah, he's an absolute grinder though. He's a real
Yeah.
hustler. Um, so yeah, anyways, how long are we in this? I just want to okay,
Oh,
perfect.
well,
So yeah, in this case, I mean, we did end up getting screwed out of the deal, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it.
yeah.
So learn from this story, learn from this lesson,
Mhm.
and take notes on how to just not get screwed, I guess.
Yeah. Don't let the and the thing too is, like, sometimes I think because 'cause we're younger, like, yo, people just don't wanna see us win
No,
sometimes.
a lot of times they just want to take advantage too.
Yeah.
Like they don't think that we'd be willing to go through like that whole legal process
But
of
no, we're like,
right, because
"No,
we wanted
don't
to
mess with
countersue.
us."
We wanted
Yeah.
to just say or not countersue, but be the one suing.
Yeah, the
Just
buyer agent was like, "You need to actually sue Miss Jackson."
yeah,
Yeah.
which completely correct. Like if it wasn't for Trash Lady Jackson in this deal, you know, everything would have went perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I don't believe there would have been a single hiccup. Miss Brown would have got
Yeah,
her money.
she would've been happy
Our
because
buy
she's getting more than what she expected, the buyer starting his new journey, and then, we
that's
would've
it.
been fine too with getting our assignment fee.
Yeah. So you gotta watch out for those objections.
Yeah,
Or in this lady or in this situation, Trash
yeah.
Lady Jackson.
But yeah, hope
So
you
that
guys
one
enjoyed this
yeah, that one hurt
little
a little bit, but
yeah.
like I said, learn from us.
Yeah. For us, I feel like we get annoyed for a good day or so, and then we're back at it, like
Right. And I really another thing that sucks though is like any of our VAs that close a deal with us obviously get a commission. Like we pay them a decent bonus for these
mhm,
deals. So yes, Stephanie and I and the company are losing out on money, but at the same time, the real women behind the scenes, VAs,
mhm,
they're all girls, but they're losing out on their commissions as well, which they're really hopeful for because I mean they live in these other countries where the amount of money that we're giving them for a commission is actually a huge chunk of money for them. So
yeah,
they look very excited for this, and especially when it comes to a deal that they had generated or a lead that they had generated over a year ago or close
mhm,
to a year ago. They're like, is that finally closing? Like they get excited, they get
yeah,
hype, everything is going good, and then stuff like this happens. It's like I'm so sorry. Like it's truly a letdown. right?
Yeah, and we even said too in regards to that, but also, like, the buyer's agent, we're like, "We don't even care if we, don't make our money. We just want basically justice because we feel so bad for him losing all that money
I do.
on a
Like
weekly
2,000 a week
basis."
is insane
Yeah,
for him to not even own the building now.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
crazy.
I hope that they can somehow still work out a deal, but I think they're still going through that process of listing it instead.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I checked to see if it was on the market today, but it's not.
Not yet.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. We should just go out and buy it. Like, F you.
A whole new new LLC.
Right. Whole new LLC. Never show our face. Just buy it and resell it again. Like, forget you.
But it's something, you live and you learn, life goes on, keep on
That's true.
pushing, on to the next deal.
It is true.
Yeah,
And on that note, please like, subscribe,
subscribe.
blow these kind of videos up because I feel like there's a lot of the content that a lot of other real estate
They
investors
don't
don't
talk about
they
this
don't really
stuff.
talk about it. And we
Yeah,
just want to be like fully transparent and tell you guys this is how it is. This is
mhm.
what could happen. This is what will happen.
It's not no Fixer Upper HGTV type
No,
of
not at
stuff.
all. None of this is really edited either.
Yeah.
Like other than her computer dropping, which you'll see.
Yeah, that
Like
part.
that was
But
an
that's
edit that
not
we just did real quick.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, we're just trying to be real with you.
Yo, give us our own Selling Sunset show, that'd be crazy. Yeah.
Well, we should
That would be something.
hunting Harrisburg houses.
Yeah, maybe a different name.
Yeah, that's stupid.
But yeah, make sure you guys go subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, leave us a review, that doesn't
Yeah,
hurt.
send it to some friends. Anyone who is interested in getting in real estate. You can send them this as a warning, possibly. Like, careful of this shit, right?
Yeah.
Or just encouragement. Obviously, there's huge educational benefits when watching our podcast. We try to bring on extremely knowledgeable guests, and a lot of them have like their very own niches. So if there's something specific that interests you, feel free to go check out that podcast, and hopefully you can learn something new from them.
Well, sounds good. With that being said, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.